Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm with the amazing Nicola Broomham, who is a recruiter for a estate agency and letting agency. Nicola, why aren't there enough senior women in senior roles in a estate and letting agency? Talk to me.
I think it boils down to three factors, actually. I've put quite a lot of thought into this. I think the first factor is, and I know this is not going to go down particularly well, I do think it's the old boys club. Mm-hmm. And I think that whilst we have a significant amount of board directors, business owners, CEOs that were born in the 50s, 60s, to a certain extent the 70s, they would have been brought up in times when women didn't do senior roles. And I think as much as they like to think they've moved on, I think it's ingrained.
Do you think it's almost a subconscious bias?
Yeah, hugely.
They don't actively go out and say, I'm not going to bring...
No, I think it's hugely subconscious. And I think as part of that brings me on to what was my second issue, which I think is actually that subconscious bias comes through in their recruitment process. Internal recruitment and external. I think companies should really be looking at the way that they receive CVs without names on, for example. Candidate.
That's clever. 5. Do you do that with yourself then, with your agency, or
to our clients? No, and the reason we don't do that is because we have trialled it with some of our clients and they don't like it. But they don't like it because the first thing they'll say to me is, "Well, what are they called?" And as soon as you ask that question, you're already triggering bias. But it's what our clients want to a certain extent, so we have to go with that. But I think that companies need to look at their internal recruiting. I think they need to think about that bias, and I think they need to actively try and stop it and prevent it. So I think that's a biggie. And then the third reason, which I think is probably the biggest reason of all, is that men don't have kids. Well, they do have kids, but they don't have the kid. So I think whilst women are not necessarily supported as they should be by estate agents and by businesses as a whole through the maternity and the return to work process, I think you will always have that problem. I've been through it myself. The whole reason I didn't go back into a estate agency after having kids is because I couldn't juggle work and being a mum.
What about the responsibility of the lady herself? You know, I've heard some people say that, you know, let's just say there's 10 requirements for a job. If a man has 7, they'll say, "Oh, sod it, I'll do it," and wing the other 3. Whilst a female might have 9 out of the 10 and say, "Well, I haven't got the 10th, so I won't do it." Is that an issue?
I don't think so. I think that's possibly more of an individual character trait rather than a generalisation. I think there are some phenomenal women that are coming through in really progressive businesses. So when I talked earlier about the old boys club, there are companies like Location with Vicky, who is a phenomenal MD.
And she started as a neg. Now look at her.
Exactly.
She's
doing it fantastically. And she is, I think she'd eat most men for lunch, breakfast and dinner.
I'm scared of her.
Yeah, exactly. She's a fantastic
in a good way.
In a good way. She's a fantastic woman. Same with Nikki Stevenson.
Yeah, you know? She was only here a couple of weeks ago. Exactly.
But you've also got the likes of companies like Paramount, who have Reagan, who is their ops director. Reagan is a strong woman. And I think that to succeed in agency, you need to have a strong mindset as a woman, and you need to be able to push yourself, and you need to be able to put yourself, you know, very much in front of these people to go, I can do this job.
How do people do that? How do these ladies, do they need a mentor, a guide? Is it self-belief? What advice would you give?
Well, part of the problem as well is I don't think there are enough female role models. I don't think the people that are in these positions doing these senior roles stand up enough and shout enough for the girls. I'm here for the girls. So I think that the women that are in those positions need to be doing more to support and bring people through. I think they need to be encouraging more diversity within their own teams and within their own businesses. But I think in terms of for getting women actually to say, "Look at me, I'm bloody good at what I do," I don't think they should have to do anything more, is my honest answer. I think that they should be able to stand up on their own as is, and I think that their experience and their personality should be enough. But I think that the best way for them to do that is to look at the companies who they want to work for.
Well, I mean, I've made a commitment in that we are now filming this in the third week of October, and between now and the end of November, out of the 11 people that are going to be sitting on that sofa, 4 of them are female, and I've actively gone out, and I would say to anyone watching this is, if you know a strong female that's been there, done it, and gone through adversity, please put them in my way, because if I can do my bit to help in, you know, I'll tell you now that my 2 of my best bosses, I've had 3 amazing bosses, of which 2 of them were female. You knew where you stood. There was no willy waving or you told you knew where you were, got it sorted, and moved on. Gave the right praise, great empathy, great, yeah.
I do think things are changing, though. I think that lockdown and actually the situation which forced us all to work from home, I think is actually a real bonus for women.
Why is that?
Because I think that, going back to the childcare issue, if women or dads, men and women, can work at home more and have more flexibility, then I think that the childcare thing doesn't become so much of an issue and so much of a problem.
Is there any other advice that you'd give to females watching this on breaking through that glass barrier?
My best advice to you is to think about who you're going to work